The security camera footage showed my wife Liora sneaking back into our house at 3:17 a.m., her designer dress wrinkled, her hair a mess, and that satisfied smile I hadn't seen directed at me in 3 years. My name is Harlan Pierce, and I used to think I was living the American dream. 47 years old, successful commercial drone operation business, beautiful wife who sold million-dollar homes, 13-year-old son Stan who inherited my brains and his mother's looks. The kind of life that looks perfect from the outside, like one of those houses Liora staged for her real estate photos. But dreams have a way of rotting from the inside out. It started with little things. Leora's phone face down at dinner, new lingerie that I never got to see her wear, client meetings that ran until midnight, her best friend Kendra giving me those pitying looks at neighborhood barbecues, the kind that said she knew something I didn't. "Harlan, you're paranoid," Liora would say when I asked about her late nights. "The luxury market doesn't sleep. These clients expect service around the clock." I believed her. God help me, I wanted to believe her. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer on a Tuesday morning in October. I was reviewing footage from our doorbell camera, looking for evidence of the package thief who'd been hitting our neighborhood. Instead, I found 6 months of my wife's secret life playing out in grainy night vision. There she was, slipping out at 11 p.m. on nights I thought she was asleep, returning before dawn with that walk of shame shuffle. And on 3 occasions, I caught glimpse of the man dropping her off. Barrett Bear Cole, former college football star turned real estate developer, driving his obnoxious red Tesla like he owned the world. Barrett Cole. The man was everything I wasn't, 6'4", silver-haired, with the kind of easy confidence that came from never being told no. He'd been circling Liora's real estate office for months, supposedly looking for investment properties. Now I knew what he'd been investing in. I sat in my home office, staring at the screen, feeling something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. Not heartbreak. That would come later. This was something else. This was the moment when a man realizes he's been played for a fool and decides he's done being anyone's sucker. Stan knocked on my door. "Dad, you okay? You missed breakfast?" I minimized the video. "Yeah, buddy, just work stuff." He studied my face with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Mom left early again, said she had a showing." I'm sure she did. That afternoon I called my best friend Simon Archer, ex-cop turned security consultant. Simon had the kind of suspicious mind that came in handy when your world was falling apart. "I need a favor," I told him, over coffee at our usual diner. "Let me guess. Liora?" I shouldn't have been surprised he knew. Simon read people like technical manuals, thoroughly, and with professional skepticism. "How long have you known?" "Suspected for about 4 months. Confirmed it last week when I saw her car at the Marriott downtown. Same time Barrett Cole was registered there for a business conference." Simon stirred his coffee slowly. "I was waiting for you to figure it out." "Thanks for the vote of confidence. You had to see it yourself, Harlan. Otherwise, you'd have spent the rest of your life wondering if you were wrong." I showed him the doorbell footage on my phone. Simon watched without expression, his cop face giving nothing away. "What do you want to do about it?" he asked finally. "I want to destroy them both." Simon smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Now you're talking my language." The next 2 weeks were the most educational of my life. Simon taught me things they don't cover in business school. How to freeze joint accounts without triggering immediate alerts, how to document evidence without breaking wiretapping laws, how to make someone's life fall apart so gradually they don't realize they're in free fall until they hit the ground. "The key is patience," Simon explained as we sat in his office, surrounded by surveillance equipment and legal textbooks. "You go too fast, they'll know you're behind it. You go too slow, they'll have time to cover their tracks." I learned that Liora had been sloppy. Her work computer was still synced to our home network. Her GPS history was saved to our family account. She'd been documenting her own affair without realizing it. "Look at this," I told Simon, scrolling through months of location data. "Every Tuesday and Thursday she's at Barrett's condo for exactly 2 hours. She told me those were client consultations." Well, technically she wasn't lying. I also learned that Barrett Cole wasn't quite the success story he pretended to be. His development company was leveraged to the eyeballs, and he had a reputation for cutting corners. More importantly, he was married to Patricia Cole, heiress to a local restaurant chain fortune, and Patricia held the purse strings. "You want to hurt Barrett?" Simon asked. "Hurt his wallet. Men like him, that's where they keep their souls." While I was planning, Liora was getting careless. She started taking calls from Barrett in the house, thinking I was too oblivious to notice. I heard her giggling like a teenager, making plans for weekend getaways she told me were work conferences. "Bear says the penthouse has the most amazing view," she told Kendra during one of their phone sessions, not knowing I was listening from the kitchen. "He's so much more sophisticated than Harlan. More worldly, you know?" Sophisticated. That stung more than it should have. The breaking point came on our wedding anniversary. I'd made reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date, bought her the pearl earrings she'd been hinting about for months. I even closed the office early to get home and change into my good suit. Liora was on the phone when I walked in, her back to me, speaking in that breathy voice she used to use with me. "I can't wait to see you tonight, Bear. Harlan thinks we're having some romantic dinner, but all I can think about is being with you." She turned around and saw me standing there holding the jewelry box. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she hung up the phone. "Harlan, I can explain." "Don't." I set the jewelry box on the counter. "Just don't. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" She straightened her shoulders, and I saw something cold flicker in her eyes. The mask was coming off. "What do you want me to say, Harlan? That I'm sorry? That it didn't mean anything?" She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "I'm not sorry. Barrett makes me feel alive again. He makes me feel like a woman, not just some suburban housewife married to a man who flies toy airplanes for a living. Those toy airplanes paid for this house, and your car, and your shopping addiction. Money isn't everything. No, but apparently it's enough to keep you here while you screw around with Barrett Cole." Her face flushed. "At least Barrett has ambition. At least he's going somewhere in life. You're 47 years old, Harlan, and you're exactly where you were 10 years ago. And where's Barrett going? Back to his wife?" That hit home. She flinched. "Barrett and I have an understanding." "I bet you do. Does Patricia Cole have the same understanding?" "You don't know anything about Barrett's marriage." "I know he's not leaving his wife for you. Men like Barrett don't leave meal tickets for side dishes." She slapped me, hard enough that my ears rang. "I want a divorce," she said. I touched my cheek, feeling the sting, and smiled. "Funny, I was just thinking the same thing." I moved fast after that. By the time Liora woke up the next morning, I'd already been to the bank, the lawyer, and the locksmith. "Harlan," she called from the kitchen, "my credit card isn't working." I walked downstairs, coffee in hand, feeling better than I had in months. "That's because I canceled it." "You can't do that." "Actually, I can. It was my account. You were an authorized user." Her face went through several interesting color changes. "This is financial abuse." "No, this is financial responsibility. I'm no longer responsible for funding your affair." She grabbed her phone, probably to call Barrett. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Don't bother," I said. "I've already spoken to my lawyer. You'll have the divorce papers by end of business today." "You bastard. You can't just cut me off." "Watch me." The next few days were a masterclass in controlled chaos. Liora tried to use our joint checking account and found it empty. I'd transferred everything to an account in my name only. She went to her office and discovered that someone had sent her boss an anonymous tip about her inappropriate relationship with a client. That someone was me, of course, but I'd been careful. The email came from a burner account, sent from a coffee shop Wi-Fi network, with no way to trace it back to me. Barrett tried to play knight in shining armor, offering to support her financially, but Patricia Cole had other ideas. Somehow, Patricia received copies of Barrett's credit card statements showing romantic dinners, hotel rooms, and jewelry purchases that definitely weren't for his wife. Simon's work, naturally. "How did you get Patricia's email address?" I asked him. "She's on the board of 3 charities, all public information." He shrugged. Amazing what people will believe when it comes from a concerned citizen. Within a week, Barrett was sleeping in his office and Liora was staying with Kendra. The suburban dream team was falling apart, and I was just getting started. My son Stan was watching all of this with the intensity of a kid studying for finals. One evening, he cornered me in my office. "Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced?" I could have lied. Probably should have. But Stan was 13, not 3, and he deserved the truth. "Yeah, buddy, we are." "Because of Mr. Cole?" Smart kid. "How did you know about that?" "I'm not blind. Plus, I heard Mom on the phone." He was quiet for a moment. "Are you okay?" "I will be." "Good. Because Mom's been really mean to you lately and you didn't deserve it." That night I lay awake thinking about what Stan had said. My kid had been watching his mother treat his father like garbage, and he'd chosen sides. That should have made me feel better, but mostly it just made me sad. The sadness didn't last long. The next morning, I got a call from Monica Voss, Leora's assistant. "Mr. Pierce, I think we should talk." We met at a Starbucks across town. Monica was 28, ambitious, and smart enough to know which way the wind was blowing. "I want you to know I had nothing to do with Leora's personal business," she said without preamble. "I never thought you did. But I know things, about her and Mr. Cole, about their plans." "What kind of plans?" Monica pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages. They were planning to disappear together, take a vacation to the Cayman Islands while the divorce was being finalized. Liora thought she could hide assets offshore. I read the messages, feeling that familiar cold anger settle in my chest. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning to rob me blind while she did it. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because Liora promised me a promotion and a raise when she made partner. Now she's about to be fired, and I need this job." Monica leaned forward. "I can help you, Mr. Pierce. I know where all the bodies are buried." "What do you want in return?" "A recommendation letter when this is all over, and maybe a job reference if things get ugly." I thought about it for about 2 seconds. "Deal." Monica smiled. "Great, because I have something else you're going to want to see." She pulled out a tablet and showed me security footage from the office building where Liora worked. There, in grainy black and white, was my wife and Barrett Cole in the conference room after hours, doing things that definitely weren't covered in the employee handbook. "The building manager is a friend of mine," Monica explained. "He was going to delete this, but I thought you might find it useful." Useful was an understatement. It was nuclear. "One more thing," I said. "I need you to do something for me." The Riverside Country Club's annual charity gala was the social event of the season. 500 of the city's most important people, all dressed to the nines, all competing to see who could donate the most money while looking the most charitable. Liora had been planning to attend for months. It was her chance to network with potential high-end clients, to see and be seen by the people who mattered in her world. Even with everything falling apart, she wasn't going to miss it. Neither was I. I'd never been much for these society events, but Simon convinced me to go. "You want maximum impact? You need maximum audience." I rented a tux and bought a ticket. Monica had already done her part, volunteering to help with the audiovisual setup for the evening's presentation. Such a helpful girl. The gala was held in the club's main ballroom, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors. I spotted Liora immediately. She was wearing a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, standing next to Barrett like they owned the place. Barrett had somehow convinced Patricia to let him attend solo, claiming it was a business networking opportunity. Patricia was probably at home, planning his funeral. "You clean up nice," Simon said, appearing at my elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. "Thanks. Everything ready?" "Monica's got it handled. The presentation starts in 10 minutes. I watched Liora work the room, playing the part of the successful real estate agent, accepting sympathy for her difficult divorce from people who had no idea what she'd really been up to. Barrett was holding court by the bar, telling war stories from his college football days to anyone who would listen. They had no idea what was coming. The lights dimmed, and the club president took the stage to begin the evening's presentation. It was supposed to be a slideshow highlighting the club's charitable work over the past year, accompanied by a video montage of smiling children and grateful families. Instead, the giant projection screen filled with security footage from Liora's office building. The room went dead silent. On screen, in high definition and perfect clarity, my wife and Barrett Cole were having what could generously be called a business meeting, if your business happened to be adultery. It took about 3 seconds for people to realize what they were seeing. Then the murmur started, growing louder as recognition spread through the crowd. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "Is that Liora Pierce? And Barrett Cole? Isn't he married to Patricia?" I found Liora in the crowd. She was standing frozen, her face white as her pearls, staring at the screen in horror. Barrett was trying to push through the crowd toward the AV booth, but people kept stopping him, pointing and whispering. The video ran for exactly 90 seconds before Monica cut it off and restored the proper presentation. But 90 seconds was enough. In the age of smartphones, half the room had already recorded it. "Ladies and gentlemen," the club president stammered into his microphone, "we seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties." But the damage was done. Liora was already fleeing toward the exit, Barrett close behind her. I watched them go, feeling a satisfaction so complete it was almost spiritual. "Nicely done," Simon murmured. "Clean, effective, and completely legal. Just getting started." By the time I got home that night, the video was already making the rounds on social media. Kendra had posted it to Facebook with the caption, "When keeping it real goes wrong." Even Stan had seen it. Apparently one of his friend's parents had been at the gala. "Dad," he said when I came upstairs to say goodnight, "you're kind of scary when you're angry." "Sometimes scary is what the situation calls for, buddy. Are you done being angry?" I thought about it. Not quite yet. Barrett Cole's world imploded faster than a controlled demolition. Within 48 hours of the gala, Patricia had filed for divorce, frozen their joint accounts, and kicked him out of their house. His business partners, all respectable family men, suddenly found reasons to distance themselves from him. But Barrett was a fighter. I had to give him that. Instead of crawling into a hole and waiting for the storm to pass, he decided to go on the offensive. He started with intimidation. I was leaving my office late one Thursday when I found him waiting by my truck, all 6'4" of him blocking my path. "We need to talk," he said. "I don't think we do. You think you're real smart, don't you, Pierce? Destroying my marriage, my business, my reputation?" "I didn't destroy anything, Barrett. I just showed people what was already there." He stepped closer, using his size to try to intimidate me. "You have no idea who you're messing with." "Sure I do. I'm messing with a washed-up football player who peaked in college and has been coasting on his wife's money ever since." His face flushed red. "You little—" "Careful," Simon said, stepping out of the shadows. I hadn't even known he was there. "Threatening someone in a parking lot is assault in this state." Barrett looked between us, calculating odds he didn't like. "This isn't over." Yes, it is, I said. You just don't know it yet. He stormed off, but I knew he'd be back. Men like Barrett didn't give up easily, especially when they had nothing left to lose. I was right. 3 days later, I got a call from my business insurance company. Someone had filed a complaint claiming my drones were being used for illegal surveillance. The complaint was anonymous, but I knew who was behind it. Then, my biggest client, a construction company that contracted me for site surveys, suddenly canceled our contract. No explanation, just a terse email about going in a different direction. Barrett was trying to destroy my business the same way I'd destroyed his marriage. Two can play that game, I told Simon. What do you have in mind? Barrett's company has been cutting corners on their construction projects. I've seen the work sites, substandard materials, code violations, safety issues. You have proof? I have drones. That weekend, while Barrett was probably drowning his sorrows somewhere, I conducted a comprehensive aerial survey of every active coal development project in the city. What I found was a prosecutor's dream. Building code violations, environmental infractions, and safety hazards that would make OSHA weep. I compiled everything into a detailed report, complete with high-resolution photos and GPS coordinates, then sent copies to the city building department, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the local news stations. The first construction site was shut down on Monday morning. By Wednesday, 3 more had been red-tagged. Barrett's remaining business partners were scrambling to distance themselves from the company, claiming they had no knowledge of the violations. Barrett called me that night, his voice shaking with rage. You're destroying innocent people's livelihoods. I'm protecting public safety. Those buildings you were putting up were death traps. This is harassment. No, this is consequences. Something you've apparently never experienced before. He hung up on me, but I wasn't done, not even close. The hardest part of any divorce isn't losing your spouse, it's losing the friends who come with them. Liora and I had been part of a social circle for years, couples who got together for barbecues and game nights and birthday parties. I'd thought they were my friends too. I was wrong. It started with Dave and Jennifer Walsh. Dave worked in finance, Jennifer was a stay-at-home mom, and we'd been having dinner with them once a month for the past 5 years. When the divorce news broke, I expected some awkwardness, maybe some careful neutrality. Instead, I got a cold shoulder that would have made an iceberg jealous. Harlan, Dave said when I ran into him at the grocery store, I think it's best if we keep some distance while you and Liora work things out. We're not working anything out. We're getting divorced. Well then, Jennifer and I feel like we need to support Liora through this difficult time. What about supporting me? Dave looked uncomfortable. Come on, man. The way you humiliated her at the country club? That was pretty harsh. She was cheating on me, Dave. That's between you and her. You didn't have to destroy her publicly. I stared at him, trying to process what I was hearing. So I should have just quietly accepted being cheated on? I'm just saying, there were more mature ways to handle it. That's when I realized the fix was in. Liora had gotten to them first, spinning her version of events, painting herself as the victim of an abusive, controlling husband who couldn't handle her success. The pattern repeated itself over the next few weeks. Tom and Susan Bradley, who'd been to our house dozens of times, suddenly stopped returning my calls. Mike and Carol Stevens, who I'd helped move into their new house, acted like they didn't see me when we passed on the street. But the worst betrayal came from Rick Morrison. Rick had been my friend since college. He was the best man at my wedding, the godfather to my son, the guy I'd called when my father died. If anyone was going to have my back, it should have been Rick. Instead, he invited me to lunch and spent an hour explaining why I was wrong. Look, Harlan, I get that you're hurt, he said over his sandwich, but what you did to Liora was vindictive. She made a mistake, and you destroyed her life. She didn't make a mistake, Rick. She had a 6-month affair. Marriage is complicated. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to her needs. Are you seriously blaming me for her cheating? I'm saying there are two sides to every story. What's her side? That she was lonely? That I didn't appreciate her? That justifies betraying our marriage vows? Rick sighed. You're not hearing me. I'm hearing you fine. You think I should have handled this quietly, kept it private, let her have her affair as long as she was discreet about it. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. I stood up, leaving my untouched sandwich on the table. You know what, Rick? I thought I knew who my real friends were. Thanks for clearing that up. I walked out, and Rick didn't follow. That night, I sat in my empty house. Liora was still staying with Kendra, and Stan was at a sleepover, and took inventory of my life. My wife was gone, my friends had abandoned me, and my reputation in our social circle was shot. But you know what? I felt better than I had in years. Simon came over with beer and pizza, finding me on my back deck, staring at the stars. Rough day? He asked. Enlightening day. Turns out most of my friends were really Leora's friends who tolerated me. Their loss. Is it? Maybe they're right. Maybe I went too far. Simon was quiet for a long moment. You want to know what I think? Shoot. I think you're a good man who got tired of being treated like a doormat. I think your wife spent years undermining you, making you feel small, and when you finally stood up for yourself, it scared people. Scared them how? Because if you could stop being a pushover, maybe they'd have to examine their own lives, maybe their own compromises. Simon opened his beer. People don't like mirrors, Harlan, especially when they don't like what they see. So, what do I do now? You finish what you started. The confrontation I'd been dreading came on a rainy Thursday night in November. I was working late in my office when I heard cars pulling into the parking lot. Through the window, I saw Rick Morrison getting out of his BMW, followed by Dave Walsh, Tom Bradley, and Mike Stevens. My former friends had come calling. I met them at the door, not bothering to invite them in. Gentlemen, what brings you out on such a lovely evening? Cut the crap, Harlan, Rick said. We need to talk. About what? About this vendetta you're on, about what you're doing to Barrett Cole. I almost laughed. You're here to defend Barrett Cole? We're here because this has gone too far, Dave said. The man's lost everything. His wife, his business, his reputation. Good. Jesus, Harlan. Tom shook his head. Listen to yourself. This isn't who you are. You're right. The old me would have quietly accepted being cheated on and humiliated. The old me would have let Barrett Cole walk away without consequences. The old me was a sucker. The old you was a decent human being, Mike said. The old me was a doormat. There's a difference. Rick stepped forward. We're asking you to stop. End this thing with Barrett. Let it go. Or what? Or we'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. I stared at him. Are you threatening me, Rick? I'm trying to save our friendship. Our friendship ended when you chose to defend the man who destroyed my marriage instead of supporting me. Barrett didn't destroy your marriage, Dave said. Your marriage was already broken. Barrett was just a symptom. And that makes it okay? It makes it understandable, Tom said. Liora was lonely, neglected. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. You want to know what's really going on here? You're scared. You're scared because I proved that actions have consequences. You're scared because your wives are watching what happened to Liora and Barrett, and they're wondering what would happen if they got caught cheating. The silence stretched out between us, broken only by the rain pattering on the roof. You're paranoid, Mike said finally. Am I? When's the last time Jennifer went out for girls' night, Dave? How about you, Tom? Susan working a lot of late nights lately? Dave's face flushed. You're out of line. I'm just asking questions, the same questions you should be asking. This conversation is over, Rick said, but this isn't. If you don't back off Barrett Cole, we'll make sure the whole city knows what a vindictive bastard you've become. Go ahead. I've got nothing left to hide. They left without another word. and I watched their taillights disappear into the rain. Then I called Simon. "They came to see me," I told him. "I figured they would." "How did it go?" "About how you'd expect. They want me to leave Barrett alone." "What did you tell them?" "I told them to go to hell." Simon chuckled. "Good, because I've got some interesting news about your friend Rick." "He's not my friend anymore." "Good thing, because he's been having lunch with a paralegal from his law firm. Same restaurant, same corner booth, every Tuesday for the past 2 months. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "You're sure?" "I've got photos." "Send them to me." "Harlan, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking Rick just made this personal." Barrett Cole's final desperate gambit came on a cold December morning. I was at home having coffee with Stan before school when my security system alerted me to movement in my driveway. Through the window, I saw Barrett getting out of a rental car. He looked like hell, unshaven, wearing a wrinkled suit, moving with the jerky desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. "Stan, go upstairs," I said quietly. "Dad, now." My son disappeared up the stairs, but I knew he'd be listening from the landing. Smart kid. Barrett didn't bother knocking. He tried the front door, found it locked, then walked around to the back. I heard him rattling the patio door, then the sound of breaking glass. He was breaking into my house. I activated the security system's recording function and called 911, keeping my voice low. "This is Harlan Pierce at 1247 Oak Street. Someone just broke into my house." "Are you in immediate danger, sir?" "Not yet, but send someone fast." Barrett found me in the kitchen, standing calmly by the coffee maker. "You destroyed my life," he said without preamble. "You destroyed your own life. I just documented it." He was carrying something in his right hand, a tire iron from his car. "You think you're so smart. You think you won. I know I won. Not yet, you haven't." He raised the tire iron, and I saw murder in his eyes. This was it, the moment when Barrett Cole finally showed his true colors. But I was ready for him. "You might want to look around before you do something stupid," I said calmly. Barrett glanced around the kitchen and froze. Every surface had a small camera pointed at him. My security system had been recording everything since he broke the window. "That's right," I said. "Everything you've said and done since you broke into my house has been recorded and automatically uploaded to the cloud. You assault me with that tire iron and you'll spend the next 10 years in prison." Barrett's hand trembled, but he didn't lower the weapon. "You've taken everything from me." "You took everything from yourself. I just made sure people knew about it. My wife won't even talk to me. My business partners have frozen me out. I'm living in a motel room." "Where's Liora? I thought you two were going to ride off into the sunset together." His face crumpled. "She dumped me, said I was too much baggage." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "So, what's the plan here, Barrett? You kill me, then what? You think that's going to fix your problems?" "It'll make me feel better. For about 5 minutes. Then you'll spend the rest of your life in a cage." The sound of sirens was getting closer. Barrett heard them too. "Sounds like your time's running out," I said. He looked at the tire iron in his hand, then at the cameras recording his every move, then at me standing there calmly waiting for him to make his choice. The tire iron clattered to the floor. "I'm sorry," he said, and started crying. The police found him sitting at my kitchen table, sobbing like a child. They arrested him for breaking and entering, destruction of property, and attempted assault. I gave them copies of the security footage, and Barrett was taken away in handcuffs. Stan came downstairs as the police car was pulling out of our driveway. "Is it over?" he asked. "Yeah, buddy, it's over." But I was wrong. There was still one more scene to play out. Liora came home 3 days before Christmas. I was decorating the tree with Stan when she let herself in through the front door, looking like a ghost of her former self. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked younger somehow, and infinitely sadder. Hello, Harlan? Liora? Stan looked between us uncertainly. Mom? Hi, baby. She tried to smile. How are you? I'm okay. Are you coming home? The hope in his voice broke something inside me. Despite everything, Stan still loved his mother. I don't know yet, sweetheart. Your dad and I need to talk. I sent Stan upstairs and faced my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, across the living room that had once been ours. You look tired, I said. I am tired. Tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not. Where have you been? Kendra's, mostly. Then a motel when she got tired of me. Then my sister's place in Denver. She sat down heavily on the couch. I heard about Barrett. He broke into my house, threatened me with a tire iron. I know. His lawyer called me, asked me to testify as a character witness. She laughed bitterly. I told him Barrett had no character to witness. Why are you here, Liora? I want to come home. I stared at her. You want to what? I made a mistake, Harlan, a terrible, stupid mistake. I threw away everything good in my life for a man who turned out to be nothing but a coward and a loser. You're just figuring that out now? I know how this looks. I know you have every reason to hate me. I don't hate you, I'm just done with you. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. We have a son together, we have a history. We had a marriage. You destroyed it. Tears were running down her face now. I know I did. But maybe we can rebuild it. Maybe we can start over. With what? Trust? Respect? Love? You killed all of those things. I still love you. No, you don't. You love the security I represent. You love the house and the life and the respectability. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you never would have done what you did. She was sobbing now, ugly crying that shook her whole body. Please, Harlan, I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll sign a post-nuptial agreement. I'll do whatever it takes. There's nothing you can do. It's too late. It's never too late. It was too late the first time you let Barrett Cole touch you. It was too late when you lied to my face for 6 months. It was too late when you told me I wasn't good enough for you. I stood up, looking down at this woman who had once been the center of my world. The divorce papers are already filed. You can contest them if you want, but you'll lose. I have evidence of your affair, documentation of your attempt to hide assets, and witnesses to your behavior. You'll get what the law requires, and not a penny more. What about Stan? Stan will live with me. You can have visitation rights, assuming you can stay sober and stable long enough to exercise them. She looked up at me through her tears. When did you become so cold? When I realized that being warm just made me an easier target. She left that night, and I never saw her again. Epilogue. The new normal. 6 months later, I was sitting in my office when Monica knocked on my door. Mr. Pierce, there's someone here to see you. Rick Morrison walked in, looking older than his 48 years. His expensive suit couldn't hide the weight he'd lost, or the dark circles under his eyes. Hello, Harlan. Rick, what can I do for you? I wanted to apologize. I leaned back in my chair. For what, specifically? For not believing you. For taking Leora's side. For threatening you. He sat down without being invited. You were right about everything. I usually am. My wife left me last month. Turns out that paralegal wasn't the first. She's been cheating on me for years. I felt no satisfaction in being right. Just a weary sadness for the man I'd once considered my best friend. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Yeah, Rick, I am. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. He was quiet for a long moment. How did you know? I didn't know. I suspected. There's a difference. But you had me investigated. After you and your friends came to my office to threaten me, yes. I wanted to know who I was dealing with. Fair enough. Rick stood up. I know we can't be friends again. Too much has happened. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. What you did to Barrett, to Liora, it wasn't revenge. It was justice. No, it was revenge. But sometimes revenge and justice look a lot alike. After he left, I sat alone in my office, thinking about the past year. Barrett Cole was in prison, serving 18 months for breaking and entering and attempted assault. Liora was living in Denver, working as a secretary and dating a man who sold insurance. Our divorce had been finalized in February. My former friends were dealing with their own problems. Dave Walsh was in marriage counseling after his wife discovered his gambling addiction. Tom Bradley was getting divorced after his wife found out about his affair with their neighbor. Mike Stevens had moved to Florida after his business went bankrupt. As for me, business was better than ever. Turns out that publicly destroying people who cross you is great for your reputation. Nobody wants to be on the wrong side of Harlan Pierce. Stan was thriving, making straight A's and playing on the basketball team. We'd grown closer over the past year, bonding over shared adversity. I'd started dating again, a nice woman named Sarah who taught at Stan's school. She knew my story, knew what I was capable of when pushed, and somehow that didn't scare her away. "You're not the same man you were a year ago," she'd told me over dinner the previous week. "Is that good or bad?" "It's honest. The man you were before was pretending to be happy. The man you are now actually is happy." She was right. I was happy. Not the desperate, grasping happiness of a man trying to convince himself everything was fine, but the calm, centered happiness of a man who knew exactly who he was and what he was worth. I'd learned some hard truths over the past year. I'd learned that most people are cowards who will abandon you the moment it becomes inconvenient to support you. I'd learned that loyalty is rarer than diamonds and twice as valuable. I'd learned that sometimes the only way to get justice is to take it yourself. Most importantly, I'd learned that I was stronger than I ever imagined. My phone buzzed with a text from Stan. "Dad, staying late for practice, home by 6. I smiled and texted back, "I'll order pizza." Then I went back to work, planning drone surveys and building the life I deserved, the life I'd fought for, the life I'd won. Outside my window, the sun was setting over the city where I'd destroyed my enemies and discovered myself. It had been a good day. They were all good days now.